Hello friend, welcome back to Heritage Homestead. We are entering that season of maximum summer abundance where the garden is giving every day and the chickens are giving some of their best. And so I am ready to preserve some things to make sure that we've got good food for the colder months. I brought you along for a harvest day last week. We're going to preserve some of that harvest today, but first I want to water glass some eggs. I'm going to start by sorting the eggs. I definitely get some clean eggs out of the coop and some dirty ones. Eggs cannot be washed before water glassing because they need to have that bloom, that protective coating on them. So I'm going to pull out all the clean eggs. These are the ones that I can preserve for the colder months when the chickens slow down their laying. I'm filling this 1-gallon jar with 2 quarts of water. I've found that about half the volume of water is the right amount for filling up a whole container. And then this is pickling lime. That's the only other ingredient you need for water glassing. The formula is simple. It's just 1 ounce of pickling lime per quart of water. So I'm weighing out 2 ounces here. The eggs need to be fully submerged, so I'm just topping off with a little bit of water at the end. This gallon jar held 30 eggs. I still had a few more eggs that I'd set aside for preserving, so I mixed up another jar of the pickling lime and water. And the nice thing about this pickling lime solution is that you can continually add to it. It's not a big deal to take the lid off and put something else in. So this is going to live on my counter, and every day some clean eggs will go into it until I think that we have enough for the winter months. The full jar went onto my pantry shelves, which are looking very bare these days. I'm looking forward to some summer canning and filling these out. But it felt good to see these eggs here and to know that we have this abundance for whenever we need it. Next up, I'm making some celery salt. This is new for me. It's completely an experiment to see if my family likes it. I harvested this celery last week. It was really exciting to have my first good harvest of this. It's my first year growing celery, and so it's just gratifying to realize that there's one more thing I used to get from the grocery store that could come from my backyard. So the stalks of the celery got wrapped in a damp paper towel, and they'll keep in the fridge that way for a couple months. Then I saved the celery tops for this celery salt. So they were placed in this drying rack, and they've just been air drying for about a week. I'm really trying to squeeze every bit of productivity I can out of my harvest, so I thought it'd be really cool to have some seasoning on my pantry shelf that came from celery tops, which I would have otherwise given to the chickens or put on the compost pile. The chopper attachment for my immersion blender was good for starting to break things down, but this is still a flake. There's just sort of celery flakes, and I really wanted a finer powder. So I'm going to give my mortar and pestle a try. This is a small batch that I'm making today because, like I said, I'm just trying it out to see if I like it. So doing this by hand isn't so bad. Even with the mortar and pestle, this didn't become a powder, and I know that celery can be dehydrated and broken down into powder, so I think that I did not allow these leaves enough time to dry. I'm going to work with what I have, but if I were going to do this again, I would allow the leaves to dry till they were more brittle. So I'm starting with 1 tablespoon of celery powder and adding 2 tablespoons of celery seed. And to that mixture, I'll add 2 tablespoons of salt. That's all it takes to make celery salt. Next up, I'm preparing my snow peas to freeze. These are the ones that we harvested last week. Ideally, you'll get the best flavor from your produce if it's preserved within a day of harvest, but that is not an ideal I hold myself to. The garden just, for me, becomes less fun if I keep things really rigid in terms of following all these ideal rules. So, these are still crisp, and I'm happy to be putting them away today. I did not preserve any peas last year, and my mom preserved too many and generously shared them with us, and I realized how much I like having them on hand. It was so easy to throw them in a pan with a stir fry, or to just prepare them with a bit of soy sauce, ginger powder, garlic powder, and have a kind of Asian pea as a side for our dinner. So I really love a frozen veggie because they're so quick to cook, and I think I like the flavor and texture often better than I like a canned veggie. I'm happy to be putting these away today. After snapping off the tops and pulling those strings off the sides, these are going into boiling water. They need to boil for 90 seconds, and then they're going to go right into an ice bath to stop the cooking process. That will allow them to hold their color and their texture pretty well when they're frozen. These peas need to dry completely before they go into the freezer, so I spread them out on a towel and just try to get them spread into a single layer, and then they sat for several hours. This part does take some time. It was close to bedtime by the time these were ready to be bagged, so they're going into quart freezer bags, and this gave me 3 quarts in all. That's 3 meals for my family where we have a veggie serving in the freezer. I had planned on these peas being the last project of the night, but decided to take a minute to do one more thing, and that was putting on the echinacea tincture. Last week we harvested echinacea. This is in bloom everywhere I look lately. The petals and the leaves are good for boosting immune function, so I pulled them both off and put them in the drying rack. They dried in less than 24 hours. These dried really easily. To turn the dried petals and leaves into tincture, I'm just pouring cheap vodka over them. I'm going to keep this bottle on hand this season so that I can continually use it for tinctures. I'll be giving this a shake once a day for the next week to help that alcohol start to extract everything out of the leaves and the petals, and then in about 2 to 3 months we'll be ready to use this. Herbal dosages vary greatly. It's not an exact science, but when we feel a cold coming on, I'll probably take a dropper full 3 times a day, and it can just help support the immune system and shorten the duration of that cold. Thanks for joining me for these projects. If you're preserving anything right now, I'd love to know what it is. Let me know in the comments. Next week, I'm going to be harvesting some garlic and cabbage, so join me next week for some more time in the garden.